wanted to make a video about Headspace. So in 2015, maybe even earlier, 2014, I was listening to a podcast on the Tim Ferriss show, and he talked about Headspace. And I was intrigued by it. I was not really into meditation, but was willing to try, right? So I downloaded the whole Headspace program, and I started to do month by month one of the modules that were given. I thought, looking back at it, it was so perfect. It was so almost genius, because you start off very gradual and very slowly, just learning to become aware, learning to distinguish thoughts as they come and go, learning how your consciousness and the monkey brain and the thoughts and the patterns work, and just creating that distinction. This is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. It was a truly eye-opener. So you become aware of all the garbage that's in you, right? And because of that, you learn to judge it, or not judge it, but recognize it. That's a thought, that's an emotion, that's a thing, and you give it a place, so you don't let it use you, you don't identify with it, you don't latch onto it. So that was like a really great intro for a beginner. And then as the modules went on, it was so much fun. I remember very well, there was a module about creativity, how to use your mind and your body to be creative, to learn how to harness creativity in yourself, to whatever moment you need to call upon it. You just close your eyes, do a small visualization, and there you have creativity. It's in your body and in your mind, and they work synergetically. It was so I was like a kid who was given like this box, and it was like full of goods, like, whoa, you have this, you have this, you have this, you have this, all these toys. It was really beautiful. There was a module also with how to work with your heart, how to be compassionate towards yourself, compassionate towards others, how to include others in your heart, how to forgive others. So while I was going through it, I realized, like, wow, this is like unlocking the different dimensions of my mind, the different dimensions of mind, emotion, and body. And in the end, right, there's a long pack of just being still, becoming still and abiding that stillness. That pack was truly like life-changing, because once you get into the momentum of having your 20-minute stillness each day, it's like you're soaking yourself in this beautiful ocean of, how could I describe it, of peace. And there's this fullness in that peace, and when you open your eyes and you go throughout the day, it's there with you. You always have access to that peace. And I actually kept looking forward to the next day, because you felt recharged, re-washed, re-energized, re-emerged. Every time you went into that peace and you come out and you're like, wow. And that feeling, it's so powerful. It's unlike anything I've discovered. I did notice though that I became less impulsive, and I became way less judgmental. I became more like an observer, and there was a lot of movement and a lot of stillness that became a part of my personality. Whereas before I was very, very confused, very unaware, very much trying to do things, trying to seek things. And now it was always just stay in the stillness, be aware of what's arising, and allow the impulses to express themselves. Like, while I was still in school, I think then, and I remember I was using that so well, because I remember my teacher, he was very mad at me because I had missed class. He said, "You cannot do this. This is unacceptable." And I was just like in that stillness, and I felt that stillness, and I felt everything is okay. And after he was done talking, I just looked at him very calmly. There was no tension in my body, no stress. It's like whatever he was doing, it was not affecting me. I understood what he said, but it was emotionally not hurting me. And I just looked at him and I said, "Is that so?" And he yelled, "Yes, it is so." And everybody was like shocked, because normally when somebody is, a teacher or something, is like really going at you, you either you draw in and you get really frightened or emotional or hurt because everybody's watching while he's yelling at you, right? And not everybody can take that, or you fight back. But here I realized it's not doing anything to me. It's just passing through me. It doesn't disturb the stillness. Also, I remember, Jesus, this is a time when in Belgium at the airport there was the bombings. The airport was bombed. And that day I was at school and we had like an exam, and I was going home. But because of the bombings, the trains were all closed and there was like a very tight schedule. So I remember I was in the train station and I was going down. And as I was walking into the elevator, there was like a man that came up, and he looked like how would you say, he looked like somebody who lives on the street. He looked very, I wouldn't say not civilized, but he just looked rough. He looked very rough and very like tense, rough, and in a certain kind of energy that was very, very intense. And he came to me and he stood behind me, right? And it's so strange because I was in the elevator and I was standing in the back of the elevator, so there was so much space in front of me. And he comes in, he walks past me, and he stands behind me. And in my body, my heart started to race. My thoughts were like, because of the situation, the bombings, right? And I observed all of it, and I still stayed in that stillness, but the stillness was not disturbed, but I was aware of what was happening. And there was just this impulse, like my body is reacting in terror because of the message that there were bombings. So I turn around and I just look at him and just keep eye contact, just to calm my body that everything's okay. And as we went out, everything was fine. I just slowed down and I realized, like, wow, my body is so conditioned, right? It's so conditioned to react, to expect, to project. And I remember when we were waiting for exams, I would be just like, I would just be in the stillness. Spontaneously, I would just close my eyes and breathe into the stillness. Breathe into and just stay there, be immersed in it. And no stress, no tension, no worries, because I knew it doesn't really actually matter. Sure, it matters, right? For me to walk my path and to take the steps, but existentially, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect my wholeness, my being, my life. It affects my circumstances, right? To which I have invested interest and attachments. And I remember what was also great, whenever I was doing something creatively, this was so beautiful. So because you're immersed in the stillness and you're centered in the stillness, what would happen is, when you breathe in and you just stay in the stillness, you can just perceive. And without thinking mentally, you just can breathe while looking at something, and you would get this impulse from your hara center, your belly, this impulse to do something, to say something, to act in a way. You would just be completely present, and an intuitive impulse would arise out of the perception of what is. And it's so totally different when you experience that than the mental thing. Also, whenever there were opportunities to be creative, so I was going to theater school, And whenever we were doing theater classes, I would be in that stillness. But whenever the need arose to be explosive, to express myself, because I wasn't in my life being moved that much, or being shaken all that much, all my power was harnessed. So whenever there was like a task or a thing that I needed to do, all of a sudden I had all my power to react, to pour out, to give. And it was so strong, and I stayed so centered. It was a truly beautiful experience, and it taught me about staying centered, being in your essence, being in your belly, being in your being, in your core. And I remember one more period about that time. So there's a module there that teaches you about the impermanence of life. It teaches you how to contemplate. While talking, I realized the program of Headspace is so complete. It's so complete. So it taught me about how to also re-energize your body. So whenever you feel tired, like when you do some kind of work, or you've done a task for an hour, for 2 hours, and you just feel a bit drained, and you need to relax a little bit. Like there was this exercise where you just close your eyes, relax, and you visualize how your energy is filled with light and everything's relaxed. And after that, you feel really great again. You feel really refreshed. It's like you're taking an internal bath, or an internal and you're hooking into an energy source, and you're filling yourself back with energy. So it was really awesome. And then the period about contemplation was a mind bender. So in the contemplation pack, the guy who's teaching the program, he guides you through these meditations where he teaches you to realize the impermanence of life. So after becoming present and being aware in the stillness, you drop in this question: who or what would you miss the most if you were no longer around? Or another week says something like, how would you feel if you knew that today was your very last day? And when you're really centered, when everything's still, and that question drops in, right? It's like a very it's like a very big question. So the way the meditations will be set is in the beginning, he talks for a minute, then he does a body scan, he centers you, and then the visual or the creative exercise starts, where you contemplate, or you do heart visualization, or mind visualization, or body visualization, whatever, or body awareness. And so whenever that question would then drop, it would almost it's like you're in the stillness in your body, and the question is not like a thought, but it's like a thought appearing and immersing itself, dropping into your body, and then dissolving in your body, and your body is releasing a response to it. And so much intense emotion arose out of it, started to cry, and you would stay with that feeling. You would intensify that feeling. You would breathe in that feeling to really, because you're closed off from everything, and you stay with that feeling for 5 minutes, or for 10 minutes, for 5 minutes, I think. And then you open your eyes and you go about your day. That feeling stays with you. And so, in that period, a lot of my ambitions, I just saw through them. I realized what I was ambitioned about, I was looking for something. I was looking for myself. I was looking to become happy, to become a better version of myself. But when it dissolved, when that feeling was present with me throughout my day, I just felt this sincere, gentle, warm feeling of I welcome you. I welcome every moment. I'm grateful. And it was it was real. It was like sincerely, like in every interaction, you just notice all of a sudden how beautiful people are. You just notice how beautiful the moments are. It's so appreciative. And throughout the day, sometimes I would re-ask myself the question. And I mean, that period, like, I repeated that a couple of times because it was so immersively beautiful. It really is awesome. Then there's like, he teaches you in a module ways about how to contemplate questions from your life that you are unsure about, how to drop them in and then get answers from your intuition, from your subconscious. There was this one module I remember that you would like walk throughout your life and you would just ask yourself sometimes, could this be a dream? And like you would contemplate that and you would like realize like, how can I be sure that this is not a dream? And I don't know how, but your mind would like see through the illusion of the story that were projected, and you would refocus on the reality of the situations. Now, all this work with Headspace, I won't necessarily say that it gave me the experience of being myself. It gave me certain kind of exercises in which my consciousness could experience different aspects of my mind, of my emotions, of my body. It was like simulations in which I learned how to use all these dimensions of myself in different ways. And I'm so grateful for it. And I truly, honestly recommend it to anybody who wants to learn more about himself, about patience, about creativity, it's like in that program you learn almost everything you need to know about how your mind works, how your creativity works, how your imagination works, how your body and mind are connected. It's like, I think it's a must. Like, I think everybody should go through this because it's like in school we learn things that are useful to us to be useful in the world, but this is useful things for yourself, to know how to use yourself, to know how to experience and use different parts of your humanity, access them. And I'm really grateful for that period. Like, I think his name was Andy from Headspace. Yeah, like a really great program. I recommend it wholeheartedly to anybody. Just do it, go through it. You will not regret it. You will be richer by going through that experience. Like, when I was over, I thought like, wow, I've gone through it. Like, I had no desire to repeat it again because I realized I've already experienced everything. But I realized it was such a gift. It was such a gift to myself. I gave myself the gift of being with myself on all different aspects, on all different levels. And you actually fall in love with your life through that process, because you realize how rich our capacity to live, to experience is, and how many ways there are to experience it. So I definitely recommend